Back when I used to work at GameStop, I always had customers who asked these really weird questions. Like, some of them wondered why we wouldn't accept their system for a trade-in when it was literally crawling with roaches. But then others would ask things like, hey, can I get Super Mario for the PS4? Now back then it was usually just parents that are asking about games and not knowing about them being exclusive. Because there's absolutely no way I have it. But today, I think we might have actually found the new Mario game on PS5. You see, these little robots started out as a neat gimmick to help sell the camera for the PS4. It came with a game called The Playroom where you could mess around with these guys, take pictures, and play some minigames. I mean, nobody really took this seriously since it was like PlayStation's answer to the Xbox and their Kinect, and that didn't end up too well. But luckily, we ended up getting even more games featuring these little robots. The most important game being the one that everyone who has a PS5 could play from day one. I talked a little bit about Astro's Playroom before, and I loved how it took full advantage of the new hardware. The sound effects, the haptic feedback, and the triggers felt amazing playing this. And I can't say that any other PS5 game came close to using the features the way that this game did. And you can call it a gimmick if you want to, but it was really some fun immersion. Fast forward a few years, and today we have Astro Bot. I was shocked to see how many perfect scores this was getting. It's like it came out of nowhere and got an even higher score than Black Myth Wukong. And I'm like, you're gonna give a game that looks like this a higher score than a game that looks like this? So I had to jump into this and see exactly why people love Astro Bot so much. Starting off, this is the most simple story ever, even compared to the Mario series. Instead of rescuing a princess and fighting through castles, we're just fighting monsters to fix up our ship. This green alien is the main villain, and the first thing he does is steal the CPU out of this PS5 spaceship. When he snatches it out, the whole ship crashes onto a planet and makes all the ship parts scatter. So now it's up to our boy Astro to find all the parts and gather the entire crew back together. And there's damn near no dialogue in here, so it makes everything a lot more easy to follow. And I know that some people are upset seeing this get a higher score than Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Like, how can this kid's game possibly be better than the deep stories and fun moments in Yakuza? Well, the answer to that is in the gameplay, but there's still more to it. Outside of the story, the best parts in Astro have to be all the references to gaming. Not even just the PlayStation ones, but those are great too. There's a bunch of hidden bots in each level, and they'll be in places that match with the franchise that they come from. So of course you'll find Dante from Devil May Cry in a cemetery. And where else would you find Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us besides a planet filled with mushrooms? Well, you know, Joel could have been on a golf course, but we're not gonna talk about that. I love the way that they make you want to find all these guys just to say that you have them all in your collection. There were some stages where I almost missed a few of the special bots, and I had to go back because I was not about to leave them behind. If it were a regular bot, then sure, I'll leave it, but absolutely not the special ones. And the best thing about Astro Bot is how much it shows love to so many PlayStation IP. Funny enough, it came out on the same day that Concord was shut down, and during that same week, PlayStation made a statement about how they don't have enough IP. But I was thinking to myself, like, hey, you know, they're right here. What are you talking about? And sure, not all of the characters and references in here are about PlayStation exclusives, and there's a lot of series that just didn't make the cut. Like Final Fantasy doesn't have any bots for their characters, even though most of the recent games are only on PlayStation or PC. But you can't even go 2 levels without seeing all the PlayStation IP that have been popular for decades. I'm just glad to see that there's so many fun references and callbacks to games that are classics, or even some that I had never even known about before. Being a platformer isn't a hard thing to do since damn near everyone has played them ever since they were a kid. Nintendo was always on top with the Mario series, and nobody came close to touching them. We did have games like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, but even those faded away for years before getting brought back to life a few years ago. And I would talk about Banjo-Kazooie, but they haven't done much with that recently besides putting them in Smash Brothers. But now we have Astro Bot coming to throw hands and become one of the best modern platformers. I heard some people say it's like a spiritual successor to the Little Big Planet games, but I don't know about all that. I almost forget that this Sackboy game even came out, and looking back, it's not the greatest. Like, it's similar to Astro Bot in a few places, but it doesn't feel anywhere near as good. Maybe it's because I played it solo and a lot of the levels want you to play this with friends. But I tried to think about why Astro Bot felt so familiar. Like, sure, it does play pretty similar to Astro's Playroom, but there's still more to it. I had it on the tip of my tongue because I swore the feeling I got from this was the same as I got when I was a kid. And it finally hit me that this is the closest that PlayStation got to making Super Mario Galaxy 3.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
It's the way we crash land into a mysterious place and need to repair our ship. It's the way we go from galaxy to galaxy searching these weird planets filled with challenges and enemies. And we even get power-ups in some stages that seem pretty familiar. So much of this reminded me of what Super Mario Galaxy was doing back on the Wii. Not just with the platforming and mechanics, but also how much they wanted to show off their fancy hardware while you play. We all remember how the Wii was supposed to be this massive change in gaming where you swing the remote and make cool stuff happen. That was one of the first major companies doing something weird, and while it did hurt them for some third-party games, the big titles they released used it to the max potential. So now we have Sony doing the exact same thing with Astro Bot. And if you have a PS5 and you already played Astro's Playroom, you know exactly what I mean. The way they make the DualSense controller feel like it's the most important part of the game is crazy. You can feel every jump, every step, every blade of grass, and every gust of wind. They make everything here into a way for you to immerse yourself deeper in these levels. When you slide across the ice, you can both hear it and feel it coming from your controller. And it kinda sucks just talking about it because I can't really show you what I mean. So much of the gameplay relies on the controller, and there's sound effects and other things that you wouldn't be able to hear just from my recordings. Sometimes I'll do remote play to get some hours in on games when I'm not home, and the one time that I did that here, it felt so weird. I couldn't feel the vibrations from what I was doing, and I'll admit it made the game less fun just by taking that part away. This is the kind of game that you need to play with that DualSense because those features are addictive. Most of the stages are pretty simple, with most of the challenges coming from the hidden bots. But just like in Mario Galaxy, they threw in some challenge planets that really test you. All of these have special bots of their own, and they focus on certain power-ups or platforming skills. They even put Mr. himself in one of these, so obviously I had to get myself together and rescue him. But one of the best parts of Astro Bot has to be the power-ups. Most stages revolve around things like jetpacks and shrinking powers, and my favorite of these is the frog boxing gloves. It adds so much more fun to things, and it makes these levels feel like they have a lot more depth. Even the boss battles focus on showing off everything the powers can do. But the most fun parts come after those boss battles. Whenever you defeat a boss, you instantly unlock a special stage that focuses on certain PlayStation titles like Uncharted or Ape Escape. And the stages aren't just themed, but they also allow you to transform into each character and get their weapons. So on the Ape Escape level, you become Spike and you get to catch those apes with his net. Or on the God of War level, you can use the Leviathan axe in the exact same way that you would expect to in the original game. It's probably my favorite part of the whole package, and I would kill to see them add in more of these stages. I don't think we'd get some DLC, but if they did add one with a PS5 Pro we have to fix up, that would be pretty cool. As long as they don't charge us extra to add on the disc drive and the stand. Astro Bot might be one of the best games PlayStation released this year. They had bangers like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's crazy to see it get so much praise for being a 3D platformer, but it's worth every penny and every hour that you spend with it. I can't say for sure that it'll win Game of the Year or even be nominated, but it deserves something. Team Asobi did a great job with this, and I'm praying that Sony starts putting out more fun and exciting games like this instead of those live service dumpster fires. But let me know what you guys think about Astro Bot. Was this worthy of all the hype and praise, or do you think it's just another 3D platformer? Subscribe for more videos just like this one, and I'll see you all in the next video.